Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's now 5:30 p.m., Monday, June 10th, 2019. I'm now calling this meeting of the City Council of Paris to order. The invocation will be given by Gene Anderson, and Councilmember Portugal will lead the Pledge of Allegiance. Everyone stand, please.
May we pray? Heavenly Father, we're again thankful to be able to come conduct the business of the city this night. We pray for our elected officials, Father, that you would guide and direct them in all that they do, give them wisdom and understanding. And Father, might all be done in a way that would glorify your name. For we ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next is Citizens Forum. Persons desiring to address the council must limit their presentation to no more than 2 minutes. Unless an item is posted on the agenda, the Texas Open Meetings Act prohibits the council from responding to any comments other than to refer the matter to a future agenda, to an existing policy, or to a staff person with specific factual information. Claims against the city, council members, or employees, as well as individual personal appeals, are not appropriate for Citizens Forum. The Citizens Forum is now open. Anyone wishing to address the council, please step up, give us your name and address, and you'll have 2 minutes. All right. Seeing no one, I will now close the Citizens Forum. Next is consent agenda. Are there any items on the consent agenda that any council member wants to pull for additional discussion? All right, I'll entertain a motion on this then.
I'll make the motion to accept the consent agenda.
Motion and a second. All in favor? Okay. Regular agenda item number 11. Discuss and act on a professional services agreement with Garver USA to provide engineering and related services for design of a wastewater treatment plant. John, you want to introduce this?
Yes, sir. Back at the second meeting of April, the council instructed the staff to go ahead and begin negotiation. We'd introduced Garver to you, reintroduced Garver to you at that meeting. Garver had done some work for us over the course of about a year, a lot of it for free. We need to move forward with the wastewater treatment plant. Garver is the chosen engineer. This will be a very long contract. The project itself is probably a 5-year project from beginning to end, counting the engineering and related issues. So engineering will go through pretty much that whole thing from beginning to end. Right now, we need to have the engineer in place because we don't know what we'll be able to use, reuse, what'll have to be completely new. We don't know exactly what the design will be like. We don't know. We will evaluate different choices, different alternatives. So we don't have a final price on the entire engineering contract. What we do have for you to approve tonight is the contract, and it will be done in multiple tasks. They will not proceed with a new task until we tell them it's time to go on the task. So at some point, if we for some reason change our minds, but don't do that, we can cut off the number of tasks or delete tasks or change tasks. But again, this evening we want to approve the contract, the entire contract. But all we want now is the first 3 tasks, and that's to investigate funding, to do some surveying, and also the conceptual design. Once we get the conceptual design, that'll tell us a lot more how much we're going to spend or not spend on not only design and related services, but also on construction in the future. This is about a year before we'll have that point, so we're still a ways away. So they'll start working on this right away, but there's a lot of work involved in getting that prepared. Again, this is a really long project, and that's one of the reasons why it's important to get started on it rather than waiting until something happens. Any questions anyone has? And also, Doug is here, and
I have a question.
I'm told you have a question.
When you said something about the engineering
Yes.
deal, also had something to do with funding?
They're helping us find funding.
Okay.
So part of their job is they'll talk to the Texas Water Development Board. Sometimes there are grants which they call forgivable loans.
Okay.
The main thing is that they will help us with, other than here and there may be grants available that they'll have expertise in. They'll work with the Texas Water Development Board. Working through the Texas Water Development Board, they will probably be our lender of choice, so to speak, because they will give us dramatically lower interest rates than we can get for bonds on the open market. And that'll save us over this size of a project, whether it's $20 million or $38 million. It'll save us hundreds of thousands of dollars over the course of the project, or potentially even millions. So that's probably and they're the ones that will work with the Texas Water Development Board on our behalf, as they've done in the past.
Okay. Well, of course, I'm real interested in that.
Absolutely.
Anybody else have any comments or questions? Doug's here, he can answer any questions. All right.
I gather there's a good working relationship between this company and the city because
ma'am.
they've had previous experience.
They've been very good to work with, and we look forward to working with them. And they went through, Doug and some other folks went through a process of selection that lasted about a year, including site visits in other states. And so they're among the best in this business, and we're really fortunate to work with them.
Anything else? I need a motion.
I move to approve the agreement with Garver, and
All right, I'll second that motion. All in favor? Okay. Item number 12, discuss and act on a request from the Lamar County Appraisal District to approve the purchase of the downtown People's Bank building for the purpose of relocation of LCAD's offices.
This is not one I have a strong opinion on one way or another. I'm recommending it, I think. And just kind of some quick facts on that. So the appraisal district for quite a long time has been looking for a bigger building, better building, more space inside and out. This is not the ideal choice, and I think they probably recognize that. Of course, the first concern I had was, well, gee, I hate to lose a tax-paying customer, so to speak, tax-paying customer downtown. People's Bank is moving either way. So the alternative to that is at least that building's not going to be empty. Another empty corner is certainly not good for downtown, too. So that's a positive way to look at that. They're not paying property taxes wherever they happen to be. If they're inside the city limits, they're taking up some building, they're not paying property tax, talking about the appraisal district. They do bring a number of visitors. They bring a number of employees if they were to come to downtown. So they generate traffic, they generate trips, they generate potential restaurant businesses and so forth and so on. So it's more population in the downtown. In fact, they'll have more people working in that building than People's Bank has had for quite some time. It's been, 5 or 6 years since they quit having service at the bank. I say all of that. I don't have a strong opinion one way or another. I did tell Jerry that I would recommend it, so I've done that. Two things that I want to end with. One is that the vote at the appraisal district board was 2-1. One person was absent, and one person abstained due to a conflict of interest. And the second thing I want to mention is our representative on the board is Ken Coles, and Ken's here, and certainly you may have questions for Ken. He voted in favor of it, and he's here if you have questions of him.
Okay, I have some prepared comments on this that I'm going to deliver now, but to start this off, I've been on the council for over 4 years, and I think this is one of the more inappropriate items to come before us. The Lamar County Appraisal District wants to purchase the downtown People's Bank building and an associated parking lot for $625,000. A recent article in the Paris News stated that the cost would be $650,000. I'm not sure which is correct, but I can't overemphasize how strongly that I oppose this. We on the council and many others in Paris have been working diligently to improve and revitalize historic downtown Paris. A plan's been adopted that will encourage this development according to specific guidelines. Most of you know this plan. Traffic lights will be replaced with stop signs, one-way streets will be phased out, angled parking will be replaced with parallel parking, and the entire downtown area will gradually convert to a pedestrian-friendly destination. In order to attract people, certain types of businesses will be encouraged. Restaurants and bars, specialty shops of all types, and downtown apartments will form the backbone of a revitalized downtown. Restoration of the Grand Theater and restoration of the other historic buildings will also be a major part of this plan. I believe the relocation of the Lamar County Appraisal District into one of the most beautiful and historic buildings in downtown would be a terrible mistake and would harm the long-term plans for development. We want tenants to occupy that building that would enhance downtown and increase the potential for its growth. If this sale goes through, this multi-story historic landmark will be occupied by a government office. It will probably be dark and vacant throughout most evenings and will not contribute to the revitalization of downtown Paris. LCAD currently has an approximately 6,500 square foot building in West Paris on Bonham Street, and they need an extra 3,500 square feet as well as more parking. We always want to encourage and retain businesses in West Paris. Why is LCAD not considering buying the adjacent vacant lot and adding on to the existing building and existing parking lot? This would cost far less than the $650,000 and would keep the business in West Paris. Even if that weren't possible, why not move to other vacant structures? Numerous buildings are vacant throughout Paris. Remodeling one of these buildings would be far more cost effective and would not harm the future development of downtown Paris. Keep in mind, it's the taxpayers of Lamar County who will ultimately pay this $650,000. We should demand our money be spent more wisely. Also, the parking lot for this structure is across the street from People's Bank, and it may be substantially filled with employees. Are there really going to be enough spaces for the employees and the visitors? If LCAD buys this, as John mentioned, it'll no longer be present on the tax rolls, which will decrease the tax revenues for all taxing districts. This is an old building. There will be ongoing costs, probably unforeseen costs, in heating and cooling the building. The elevator, it's built in the 20s. I know it's been refurbished, but it's still going to need a lot of maintenance. And it's the one ADA compatible thing for the upper floors. That elevator goes out or goes on the blink, we're not compatible, and it could be a real expensive nightmare. And all these costs will have to be passed on to the taxpayers. This building is 30,000 square feet. This is 3 times as much space as the 10,000 square feet that LCAD requires. I know in the paper they suggested what's going to happen with the rest of the building. Well, the plan in the paper said, quote, we could lease out 2 or 3 of the floors. Maybe, maybe not. I even have problems with the resolution as presented for approval by this council. It states, quote, whereas the district's board of directors have determined that the acquisition of land and improvements noted above is the most appropriate and cost-effective plan for relocation of the appraisal district. Really, in all of Lamar County, a historic multi-story downtown building is the most appropriate and cost-effective place for a government office. I sincerely doubt that. As I mentioned, this may be the single most ridiculous proposal I've seen during my years on the council. I strongly oppose it. If the citizens of Lamar County agree with me, they should attend other meetings of all the other taxing entities and express their opposition. If less than 75% of the taxing entities fail to approve, don't approve this, then LCAD will have to come up with a better plan, as indeed they should. And that's my comments on this, and I will call on Ms. Knox.
I too am against this only because the Lamar County Appraisal District does not fit into the culture that we are trying to create in downtown Paris. That's number one. Number two, if they think they're going to get more parking in downtown Paris, I hate to tell them that I don't see it. I drove by the current location. I drove by and looked at the parking lot adjacent to the bank building, and I just don't see it. And right now, that parking lot is being shared for overflow for the bakery, overflow for the South Main Iron, and it's also, people can park there and walk a half a block or a block to downtown Paris. I just don't think that it's a good fit. Now, I don't know if anybody from People's Bank is here. Is anybody from People's Bank here? They have been a wonderful supporter. They have been a fabulous supporter of downtown, and I hate to see them go, but I understand the reason for them consolidating, and they're going to be sorely missed downtown. But I really wish that there could be some other use for that building than the Lamar County Appraisal District. I won't support it.
Okay. Let's just go down the road. Billy.
Okay, I'm not going to support it either. I don't think we need it. And I drove around today at that building over there. It looks to me like we could add on some space, some more rooms there if we needed a parking area. And I don't know, who owns that property? Do you know where the appraisal district is?
I don't know. This is my item, so I don't really know too much about it.
Okay, you know, I don't like that. And I know there's other buildings in town that we could probably rent or they could lease, and I'll give you a few of them, you know, if you want them. But this, to me, is a no-no.
Mr. Hughes.
I mean, I'm not it might not be ideal for downtown, but is a vacant building what we want there? I mean, if people's might have made up their mind that they're leaving, then we're gonna have an empty building there. So we're not gonna get tax money from it if it's empty, well, from people's, but, I mean, I know the, appraisal district have been looking heavily for buildings, for a place to move and to partner up with any other, government agencies here in the city. So, I mean, with them being there, it does generate traffic downtown, and it also, I mean, it leaves a empty spot there if people is automatically, if they're made up their mind they're leaving, then how long will it be empty when we could have a government entity in there of some sort?
Ms. Portugal.
I'm very against it because of our vision for what we want downtown to become. We want entertainment, we want restaurants, we want retail, and a government entity just does not fit with what our vision is, and I think we need to stick to it. I think when we get all this done, they're going to be fighting for property in downtown,
Exactly. I
downtown
concur.
Paris.
I concur. Their people are going to be coming down.
Yeah.
I sure
You're
do.
right.
All right, any other discussion on this, or any questions if anybody has that they want to ask? I'll make a motion that we deny this request.
Second.
you.
Okay, all in favor? All opposed to that motion, okay? All right. Item number 13, discuss and act on an ordinance amending the City of Paris Code of Ordinances by revising Chapter 26, Article 1, Section 26-1, Composition of Department, to add an additional sergeant position and reduce one police officer position. Chief?
Thank you, Mayor, Council. We're asking for this sergeant position. Basically, I guess we're going back to where we came from. Years ago, we had a narcotics team, and we had a sergeant assigned to it. It worked really well. We're trying to be a little bit innovative in cutting down, or as far as a strategic plan on cutting down the number of supervisors. But after looking as to what's going on, and our narcotics team's now up to 3 officers, is that I would feel more comfortable if I had somebody that was a supervisor with these officers all the time and a little bit more accountable. And that's the reason why I'm asking for it. Another kind of auxiliary reason why we're asking for it is we don't have a lot of supervisors in CID. And so if at some point in time we have another lieutenant leave or the captain leave or something like that, I'm running the risk of promoting somebody who has no CID experience to run CID. And I'm a big believer that if you're going to be instructing people what they need to do and how they need to do, you need to know how to do that yourself. And so that's basically it.
Okay. May I have any questions for Chief Hunley? Or any comments?
No.
All right. If not, I need a motion on this.
I'll approve the motion.
I'll second.
Second, all in favor?
Make a motion.
Okay, thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Item number 14, receive and discuss annual departmental reports from Public Works, Community Development, Utilities, and Finances. Discussion only. Gene?
Mayor, council members, I appreciate this opportunity to give you a brief report on the departments that I'm directly in charge of. We'll start with the Finance Office, which, as y'all know, is we maintain the city's accounting records and do payroll and all the other things you would normally think that a finance office would do. I would mention our most recent accomplishment in the department. We are in the GFOA Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting for the 23rd straight year. The key thing about that is it helps with our bond rating. When Moody's and other financial analysts look at our annual financial report and they say that in there, they know they're getting data that they can depend upon. And I think if we went back and looked at all of our debt issues over the past 20 or 30 years, we've literally saved hundreds of thousands of dollars in interest because it's helped us get a better rating. Priorities for the future, we want to continue to do the repairs and renovation to the city buildings, including City Hall and the annexes next to us. We also want to, next year, begin to make the repairs to the exterior of the depot down on Bonham Street, which has suffered quite a bit of water damage on the exterior parts of it. We want to fix that before it gets worse. Moving on to the warehouse. The warehouse, of course, does centralized purchasing for many items for the city departments and does some other things as well, like it manages the uniform contract for all the non-emergency departments. The most recent accomplishment down there was the construction of an all-weather surface for our loading and unloading zone. That was a major safety issue for us. We had a forklift unloading heavy loads off trucks, and they had to watch out for potholes and other things that put them in danger of either dropping the load or possibly turning over the forklift, and we were able to do that this past year, and we appreciate the funding of that project. In the future, we'd like to look at having an above-ground storage and fueling station with the related fleet software management. We think that will help us monitor and control our cost in that area. We budget about $500,000 a year for fuel, and we need to do the best we can do in terms of managing that data, analyzing it to see where we can improve. We also think that will improve our disaster preparedness because we'll be able to control our fuel needs in a crisis better than we can now to make sure that all of our emergency services, public works and so forth can continue to function in that situation. Lastly, utility billing. We'll continue to process about 9,700 accounts every month, as well as doing our meter reading and repairs and activation and termination of services. Our accomplishment that we're working on now, and we've partially completed, is conversion from touch read water meters to radio read meters. By the end of this fiscal year, we'll have about 43% those meters changed out. And just in briefly, what a radio reader meter does, instead of having to go out and physically touch it and lay hands on it in order to get a reading, we can send out an electronic signal and it will send us the reading back. So we don't have to actually send a meter reader out there to do that. We know, based on the ones we already have in the ground, that we can provide improved customer service for that. For example, if somebody's had a leak and they get a large bill because of that, in addition to being able to electronically send the meter reading back, it stores data for 30 to 45 days, however we program it, so that we can go back and look and see what actually happened during that time period that the customer had an unusually high bill. And so we've been able to help the customer understand what's happened a lot better with the ones that we have. And so we would like to continue with funding on that and complete that project in the next few years. And that is a long-term project to get that done. Any questions?
Any questions for Gene?
No, I don't have it.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it.
While Carter's coming, I want to say this like I do every year. This deal, the fact that they do it every year doesn't mean it's not a big deal. It is a big deal to get that kind of recognition from the GFOA, the National Association for Accounting and Auditing. The excellence in financial reporting is a big deal. To get it 23 years in a row, that's out of 23 tries, is quite a feat. So I just want to thank Gene and all of his staff for doing that. And now it's community development time.
All right. The Community Development Engineering Department has had a busy and productive year. I'd first like to mention the addition of John Ancrum to our team as the city's chief building official. John joined us in January, and he brings over 10 years of experience in code enforcement, code compliance, and he's been a good add to the team. One real benefit is that now we no longer rely on third-party plan review, so that helps us with our plan review turnaround time and our permitting processes. It also improves our customer service, so when developers come in or architects have questions, we can address those with city staff rather than relying on Bureau Veritas for our plan review and our backup inspections. So we're very pleased to have him join our team this year. Also, this last year, we've been working on our comprehensive plan. Last year, we updated the comp plan, and it had 42 recommendations for implementation. I'm happy to report that we've completed 19 of those on the list, and we've begun work on 7 or 8 of those that we hope to bring to you over the next year. So almost halfway, but we've implemented some of the ordinances that were requested in that comprehensive plan as a recommendation. Some of those include adoption of the downtown plan, the screening and buffering requirements, the small homes and tiny homes ordinance, mobile vendor regulations, and the sidewalk regulations that keep us in compliance with ADA. So we're making progress on our comprehensive plan, and we hope to continue that over this next year. The downtown plan is underway. We've slowly but surely made progress on some of the steps needed to move that program forward and that project forward. One of the most notable recent accomplishments is that TxDOT has approved removal of the inside traffic lane that's around the plaza, and that's going to allow us to expand the park around the fountain and change some of the parking in the area from head-in parking to parallel. So we hope to get approval of the actual plan. They've approved the removal of the lane. Now we have to present them with the curb modifications and have them kind of bless the design. But we're working towards that, and we hope to be able to make some of those improvements late this year. Some of the other downtown the downtown plan improvements that we're accomplishing, we're going to do bump outs at several of the intersections. That's going to be included on the North Main sidewalk project. We'll be introducing bump outs along North Main. We'll also introduce bump outs on the intersections along Lamar, and that will slow down traffic and improve pedestrian safety at those corners. So we're excited to be progressing with those plans. I want to mention our need to update our permitting structure. Right now, we have our development services and our building permits, and they're based on project valuations. But there's recent legislation that will prohibit cities from doing that, and so we need to switch to a cost per square foot of improvement or a flat fee or some other structure. That regulation goes into effect in September, so we'll be coming back within the next couple of months with a new fee structure for our development services fees. Couple of projects that are upcoming. We've got the pump track that's going to be going at the Civic Center. Very excited to get the Texas Parks and Wildlife grant awarded, but because of that grant, we can't actually start spending money on this project until October. So we're doing some of the preparation for that, but we'll really get into the design and construction after October of this year, and we hope to have that complete by the end of spring next year. TxDOT is administering a new Safe Routes to School program, and we have applied for the grant for the preliminary application process anyway for a new sidewalk in the vicinity of Aiken Elementary, and this would connect 3 of the neighborhoods over there directly to the school by a separate sidewalk, and at least get kids from the neighborhood to the crosswalk or to the school itself. The applications for that are due in August, and so we'll be working on developing that and bring you something soon, probably a resolution for the application. And then last I want to mention how we do streets and street resurfacing. Currently, when the street department or the utility department goes out and they have to make a street cut for drainage improvements or utility connections, they have to patch repair the area that they work. And so they try to minimize the area, and then they clean it up the best they can, and they have a patch. But forever forward, the street has a patch in it. And on streets, local streets where we end up with multiple utility connections and lots of patches, we end up with a patchwork quilt. And the ride quality is poor, and it's harder to maintain those patches than it is to maintain a street that has a nice new surface. So we want to take a portion of those funds and set them aside for a better fix, basically a curb-to-curb resurfacing. It wouldn't be as comprehensive as the kind of projects that we could do with the street bond money, but it would at least allow us to have a better improvement for some of our local streets that have lots of street cuts. So we're going to be proceeding with a small-scale street resurfacing program so that we can fix some of the streets that have multiple cuts, and hopefully we'll have a good report for you on that next year. With that, that's all I have for community development engineering, so I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Any questions? Thank you, Ms. Easton.
Afternoon, Mayor, Council. Bring you to the world of public works. We're always having fun, always something to do. Kind of want to start first off with the City Square, Paris, and the Recreation Department with the City of Paris and Oak Park Gym. You'll see those flyers we put out in front of you. Summer Fun 2019 with a lot of help from Carl Easton, city engineer, in putting this thing together. We're in an agreement with them. We help them maintain the building, and we help mow the grass every other time. Of course, we're doing all this stuff with a zero budget. We're trying to, just to improve our programming in Paris. The Summer Fun, it will start actually next week. It goes for 6 weeks. We were checking the numbers today. Some of the deals that you see listed in here are filling up. Some of them maybe not. We may have to combine them, but it's our first try at this, and I think we're getting some good positive feedback on it. So we're going to make the best of it and hope for the best. There's also programming for that gym that we're going to start like in September for after school stuff. Trying to get something put together for that and progress with our Park and Recreations Department. The next thing is I'm going to go into the equipment for Public Works. You'll see in the budget we've requested for a street roller, and as Carl was talking about our patches in the street and stuff, we haven't really had we're changing the way we do the patches. We're going to try to, when we do these things out, saw cut it, put the base in, hot mix the top of it, and the need for the street roller will also come into play. We've got a great big one, but you don't bring it out. You do it more when you're doing mills and inlays and that type of stuff. So this little roller will fit. In that, you'll also see in future coming up is for future equipment. There's a need for a motor grader, a dozer, a Vactron trailer. The tree mulcher we've got, which we call the Beast, is in need of bad repairs. We're still, baling wire and duct taping and keeping it rolling. So, water truck, stuff like that. But those are big ticket items, and hopefully as we go along, maybe a year or 2 years, we can buy one at a time or something to get them. Just kind of want to let y'all know where we're at on that kind of stuff. Some of the equipment we've got is getting older on the bigger, more expensive stuff. We actually have 4 park enhancement projects coming up, and it's going to range from, new compliant playground equipment, fence sections, concrete additions, parking, and even maybe 1 or 2 more RV hookups like out at Lake Crook and those type things. And there'll be Culverson, Main, and Graham. You'll start seeing some work on the end of the courthouse green space area, kind of like what you've seen on the other side of that coming up soon. Utility bond projects, I'm just going to kind of run through these real quick. The downtown water sewer replacement, the water basically around the square area is complete. They still have some sewer work to do. You'll see a sewer line coming in that has to feed over to the Culverson fountain. So you'll see some more stuff there. Now, Clarksville Street, when we're talking about the bond, Clarksville Street is all the way through. All connections are made. Fire lines are hooked up, all of that. Now, Lamar Street, the main is laid, but it hasn't been tested, and none of the service lines have been connected. So that's the reason you see them out there working and laying and making the connections and the tie-ins. So just a busy deal. Church Street construction, we're probably at 40% completion on that. I think the substantial date was to finish in August. Of course, the rain days and delays and stuff, it may move out that just a little bit, but it's going really well. They'll be adding some base from Washington to Brame. Wednesday, I believe, is when we got it lime stabilized and ready to go from there. We're actually starting 2 more, the E2 sewer project, which basically is from Stacy Lane, comes through the neighborhoods, down Lovers, across Clarksville, and all the way to the southeast lift station. And that's actually just started. We have completed the southeast lift station this year. Really nice project. And I think Doug is very happy with the end product on that, so we've got that going. Another completion was Paradise Estates. That was a project itself. We still have some level up to do on the streets, and that wasn't necessarily the contractor on that. We actually went in and dug up some soft spots, some bad spots, and once we get all the base and the level up done, then we're going to do a chip seal in that whole area this summer. So that's coming soon. We've got 17th Southeast, which is a full depth construction from Clarksville to Lamar with storm drain included in that. That's with the big ditches down the side. So that's coming. Matter of fact, TXU we've been waiting. TXU is moving, or Encore, sorry, moving their lines, transferring them to the new post as of today. So you'll see construction happening real soon on that one. And then there'll be a mill and inlay from Lamar to Pine Bluff on that section of 17th. So that's actually starting, getting going. Another one is Johnson Woods, be the creek and sewer line, which it's gonna be a chore, gonna be a task, it's gonna be fun, but we're gonna try to make it as fun as we can. Actually, we have a meeting up here tomorrow night from 5:30 to 7, city engineer and the architects and all that. So meeting with the folks of Johnson Woods to see, it's roughly a 2,500 linear foot project channel wise, and about 1,000 linear feet of that is sewer line replacement. And so that is actually in the process. Within the next week or so, you'll see us moving on that one. We'll move to the swimming pool. We've got some requests in there for the swimming pool. Actually, it's in two parts, this year's budget, next year's budget. The belly of the swimming pool has a few structural crack lines in it, so we need to get in there and replaster and repair the belly of the pool. We're planning on doing that this year with this budget, and so then the next one will follow up, and it'll be the cool deck. You know, we need to do some work on that and keep that thing up and going. And I think actually, I'm glad to report we've probably got more swim team members this year than we've ever had before, and it's going well out there. But had a filter bust the other day, line on the filter. We had to close for a couple of days, but got that fixed. And in that, I guess pretty much just the public works area, we're moving along. Seems like we're getting behind, but but for everything we fix, we see something else that needs to be fixed, and it's just a constant. But that's a good thing. So that we're being able to move forward on that from sewer and water section lines repairs on the mains to the annual repair that we do, the street improvements that we're trying to get done. We're constantly moving and with support of John and you guys, the park improvements and keeping those going. You'll actually see a soccer field now over at Wade Park too. So it's actually being used. We got the goals up and the grass is coming up, and so all is good. And I'd just like to give a shout out from all the ladies in our office to all of our team members out in the field. I thank you for them for what they do too. And that's about all I have.
All right.
Question?
Any questions or comments? Thank you.
Thank you.
As Doug comes up, I would say two other things real quickly, opportunities. One is drainage. We talked about drainage. It's been a problem for a long time, and council's approved quite a lot of improvements. One of the improvements you approved that you may not recall is that you also an additional employee last year so that we could have a two-person crew. And that has made a big difference. We're able to at least make an effort to hit every ditch in town once a year. It used to be once every, 100 million years, it feels like. So it makes a difference. We haven't had the flooding here in a long time. Of course, we didn't have the storms we had, 2 years ago. But it is making a difference. Those things takes time, but it does make a difference. The other thing is it's a real opportunity for, that's a fancy word for problem, for Jerry and other departments too, is he hasn't had a full crew in a couple of years. So parks is never full, streets is never full, water and sewer are never full. So they never have a full complement of employees. That means they're always behind. And not to complain, and Jerry didn't bring it up because he didn't want to be a whiner, but I'll just whine on his behalf. And that's just a problem. There's nothing you can do about it. I'm not asking for any help. It's just that's the way our situation is, just to maybe understand that if things are not as quick as you'd like them to be, they're not as quick as we'd like them to be sometimes either. But they never have all of their positions filled.
Is that because,
Pay.
oh, okay, people just quit and find another job?
Right.
I see.
Right. Doug, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No problem. Mayor Pro Tem, City Council, thank you for the opportunity to come before you tonight. I'm going to tell you where we've been, where we're at, and where we're going. So some of the projects that we've completed in utilities this year, one of the main ones was installation of vari-speed drives at the Pat Mays intake. What that accomplishes for the city of Paris and for the water treatment plant is to actually have the ability to withdraw the entire 36 million gallons of water a day from Pat Mays that we have the rights to through the state. That's a good thing. It shows the state that we're actually able to do that, and it lessens the chance for the state to come in and reapportion that water to somebody else. That's one of the major projects that we completed on the water treatment side. Additionally, on the water treatment plant itself, we went through a valve replacement on one of our storage tanks. That was a very necessary project. That's been completed. Everything's working well with that. One of the major things, and we discussed this over the past year, is we completed the installation of the automatic bar screen at the Flow EQ Basin. There's a few minor landscaping issues that the contractor needs to complete, so this project has not been closed out yet, but it has been in place for the past 4 months. It's working well, and the treatment plant itself has already seen the benefits of that installation. So thank you for that. Thank you for allowing us to do that. We've also accomplished a few pump upgrades, replacement at our Flow EQ Basin. With pumps and motors, they have a certain age, and it was just time, and that was an additional project that was completed this year. Some of the ongoing projects we have going on. We have received our sludge disposal and transfer pumps at the water treatment plant. We are waiting to have a contractor come out and assist with having those installed, but that project's ongoing right now. The sludge press for the wastewater treatment plant that was approved a few months ago, that has been delivered. It's on site at the treatment plant. The vendor is actually scheduled to be here tomorrow for the remainder of the week for installation, startup, and training for that piece of equipment. It's going to be a benefit for the wastewater treatment plant. And lastly, some of the ongoing projects that we have going on for lift stations is we're doing entryway improvements, which is concrete work at a couple of the lift station facilities. Specifically speaking, that's going to be Southeast Lift Station and the Flow EQ Basin. Now, for projects that we have planned, and at this point, I'll just remind you that these projects that have been requested fall within the same budget parameters that we've had for the past 4 budget years. So we have not asked for additional monies to fund these projects. So the way we do this is we sit down with staff, we identify what the needs are in each division of utilities, and then we prioritize accordingly based on the amount of funding that we've had in the budget already. So there is no budget increases for these projects. But what we have planned is a replacement of a motor control center at the water treatment plant. And essentially what that is a 480 volt control panel. And the reason that we need to replace it, this equipment that is in there now is circa 1967. So it has served its purpose. It's been cleaned up. It's had components replaced over the years, but it's time to replace the entire motor control center. Also at the water plant, in our filter gallery basement, the electric needs to be upgraded, and that as well. It's old, and it's just time to replace. For the lift station side, we try to take on 2 lift stations per budget year to look at improvements, either pump replacement, control panel replacement, that sort of thing. And we have 2 projects scheduled, one for our Campbell's lift station, which is going to be a control panel upgrade, and also at Woodard lift station. It's time to replace those pumps there. And one of the major projects, and I express my gratitude to council tonight for approving the contract with Garver, but for the wastewater plant, the project is going to be phase 1 of working with Garver Engineering in rehabilitating completely our wastewater treatment plant. It was a difficult decision to make, I understand. It's costly, but it's necessary, and it's going to put the citizens of Paris in a much better position for years to come. So again, I thank you for that. And in conclusion, I just want to give credit where credit is due, and that is to recognize the staff in the utilities department. you folks have a lot of experience in the staff that I am fortunate to work with. They're loyal, they're dedicated, they work with some really old stuff, and they do an excellent job, and I'm proud of them, and I want you to be proud of them too. So that's all I have for you tonight.
Okay, thank you. All right, any questions for Doug? All right.
One more thing on your list, you may have noticed, and she's not going to make a presentation, and that's the big project for the city clerk this year is the recodification. Recodification is a pretty strenuous process. It'll take about 4 to 6 months. It will bring our code book up to date, reorganize it, delete errors and omissions and duplications. Also make it easier to use for staff and for other folks as well. So Janice is working on that and already started that process. Just barely got started, so it'll be going on for a while.
All right, thank you. Item number 15, receive an update on the vacant building ordinance. John?
Mostly I'll just try to answer any questions you may have. I'm not sure what kind of discussion you want to have, but this is just some summary numbers. To begin with, we identified 39 vacant buildings altogether. One of those subsequently opened for use, so that reduced the number a bit more. 4 were actively being remodeled. 2 of those 4 have already sold. And three of those are the same lady, Janet. I can't remember Janet's last name all of a sudden.
Green.
Thank you. A great asset to the downtown so far with 3 buildings going along really well. 2 of those 39 buildings were offered for sale at a sheriff's auction. 1 sold, 1 did not. 1 building that was occupied became vacant. That's the Subway, but somebody's already looking at moving in there. In fact, they already have their posting for alcoholic beverage sales there. I think it's like daiquiris and wings or something like that. I remember the daiquiri part for some reason. I don't know why. 12 of the buildings are in non-compliance still, and if you'll recall, not to go through the details, but the ordinance was in effect last October, I think. They didn't have to pay fees until January 31st, so it hasn't been going on forever, but it's been long enough. So you're supposed to register, and you have to pay a $500 fee unless you get a waiver. Janet got a waiver for her 3, and Glee Emmett got a waiver on hers because she was actively pursuing it too, and has remodeled, and she's got somebody to either rent or buy. I'm not sure which it is now. But 3 property owners that have multiple properties, and that's been turned over to the city attorney, and hopefully that'll get worked out here fairly quickly. One of these property owners who owns 5 or 6 had actually visited with me a couple of times, and he decided he was going to pay the fees and register, and then kind of at the last minute, I didn't hear from him for a couple of weeks, and he said, well, I'm going to sell them. Well, that's not really good enough to get a variance, just to put a for sale sign out front. So I'm sorry, who? What did you say, who? Oh.
No, I said good. You heard me say good.
Oh, good. Okay. I thought.
Well, I mean, if
I don't really want to name names, but so he's so he has been given his summons and so forth and so on. So 3 properties. Unfortunately, they own 12 properties of the 38 that are currently vacant. 3 small structures have been added, so that's actually 3 more. We just didn't pursue those at first. A drive-in and another drive-in, and I forget what the other one. Fairly small structures. They are buildings. They are buildings that had to be permitted and CO'd once upon a time, and they're vacant as well. So that's just been done in the last week or so. So that's kind of an update on where we are. I think it will make a difference over time. I know for at least a couple of property owners, it encouraged them to do some things that they were otherwise not doing. The gentleman who's trying to sell his buildings, I'm hoping he's actively trying to do that, and that will bear fruit, because otherwise those buildings, I'm afraid, will sit there empty forever. And some of them are pretty prominent positions. Of course, every building downtown is important, and as you already discussed tonight, so I'm confident that over time it'll make a difference, especially when if people have to pay that fee the 2nd year, the 3rd year. And in fact, the conversation I had with one gentleman who was going to pay, who decided not to, that was kind of his deal. It's like, you know what, I'm just going to sell them because I don't want to have to pay you $500 for all these buildings every year. Like, well, that's good. That's what we were hoping for. So we're hoping, in combination with all the other things that need to happen downtown, the infrastructure improvements and so forth and so on. So I guess I wouldn't say pleased, but I'm satisfied with where we are. I wish everybody would comply. I didn't think everybody would, because something new like that, some people are just going to drag their feet and see what they can get away with, and we're going to hopefully not let anybody get away with anything. And I don't mean that in a mean way. It's just, it's important to take care of the downtown. So any questions or comments? Or
So the people that are not in compliance, and have refused to become in compliance, they go to court?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and then it's gonna be dealt with there, hopefully.
Correct.
Okay, and then if they're still not in compliance, they go back to court?
We can file, as long as they're not in compliance, we can continue to file cases on them. And eventually, it's much cheaper to pay the $500 than to keep paying the fines on
yeah.
$500 that you don't want to pay.
I understand. Well, I mean, we did this for a reason.
Sure.
And, if people can just keep, not gonna do it, I mean, there's gotta be something some kind of teeth or something like that, so.
Well, and right now, I do have, I'm not sure what the status of one of the sets of summons is, but on another set, we are actually set for a jury trial in July on one person's 3 violations, so
Gotcha.
hopefully something can be worked out prior to that time.
Hopefully, yep. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Next, item number 16, receive an update on the rental property maintenance ordinance. I'll give it back to you, John.
And this is one I honestly wasn't sure how much it would help because we made it kind of weak, but still important to give us an opportunity to get into some places. If you'll recall, when it was approved, it was just single-family rental properties, and we only were allowed, so to speak, and I'm not criticizing this at all, please don't misunderstand, only allowed to respond to complaints. Of course, the concern was, well, is the tenant going to complain? And also complaints could be if we were there for some other reason and we see a violation. And I'm pretty pleased to report that we have had 17 actual cases that have been resolved successfully. And so back a few months ago when I asked, I think it was 3, and now it's 17. So I was happy with that number. I'd like it to be 50. But 17 is good. I mean, 17 houses have been addressed successfully. A couple or 3 of those ended up being demolitions that people were living in. And that's very much something we wanted to address. That was a passion, frankly, for me, that people were living in houses that need to be torn down. Well, once we were able to get those people out, those houses got torn down. The other part about that is, and it's harder to define, but Robert Talley tells me, and I think the other code enforcement officers would agree with this, it has had an impact on people because they know it exists. And so rather than waiting to get in trouble, so to speak, or waiting to have a visit from us or a letter from us, we believe fairly strongly there's evidence to suggest that people are doing better with their rental properties. Remember, we were not addressing all rental properties. We're just addressing the really bad ones that property owners, irresponsible property owners, which is a small minority of the property owners we have in town, but there were some, still are some, but they do seem to be taking better care of their properties. So we think at least some families in our community have a better place to live right now because of this ordinance and our following up on it. So I'm really pleased with it. Again, I'd like it to be more, and I think it will be more, but it is working the way it was supposed to work, I think. So that's the good news.
And I would add that these cases, actually, these were voluntary compliance cases. We've not had the need, I haven't seen a single request to file a criminal complaint in the municipal court. So we're having good success with voluntary compliance.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
With regard to this state of issue and the list of homes or the list of structures.
Right.
I'm not sure if I'm reading this correctly or not, but it says we're 17 cases that removed renters, occupants, or squatters from the following structures. Well, okay, so you removed the people. Are the houses being repaired?
Yes, in some cases they've been repaired, and in 2 or 3 cases they were demolished. In some cases, they're at least they're not occupied by human beings. In some of these are not demolishable offenses. There were the 8 categories, and we really tried to emphasize the envelope of the building. They're not all demolishable yet, and so no, they're not all demolished. Well, let me back up. So, not to get into the Building Standards Commission. The Building Standards Commission, if they have a building that's unsafe, they can do one of 3 things. They can require it to be sealed up so that you can't get in it. That's fairly easy to do unless it's really bad. You can board up all the windows and doors, and you're legal. It may look horrible, and they sure do, but they're legally safe. Second thing is to order it to be repaired, and I don't know how many of these were repaired or if any of them were repaired. And then the third third one is to order them demolished if it can't reasonably be repaired or secured. And so some of these have been repaired. I don't know if it's been half of them or more than that. 2 or 3 have been demolished.
that
2 have been demolished.
I noticed that there's
so-
one person, or one structure has been, the renters, occupants, or squatters have been removed 3 separate times.
Yeah, and yeah.
So obviously, it's not being closed up.
Right.
So people can't get in.
Either it's not being closed up or they fix it temporarily and then somebody moves back in there. They also may be squatters. The fact that you seal a building up, if somebody wants to squat in there, doesn't mean that they won't peel off that plywood.
Correct.
And
Right.
so it's a never ending kind of an issue. And it's not something, this ordinance is, we're hoping it has an impact on neighborhoods and on
Right.
code enforcement, which we'll talk about next week. But, our goal was to get people out of houses that were just unsanitary and unsafe. So if all of these houses were still there, and that's not as good as I'd like it to be, I'd like them to all be torn down or repaired, but at least those people aren't living in these
Well,
shacks anymore.
I would like to address that real quick,
Sure.
just briefly. This whole thing started, we may have ended up with this, but the whole thing started by trying to save neighborhoods, by having houses that nobody was living in, or poor, people were living in very poor standards, or there were just vacant houses and nobody was doing anything with it but allowing them to crumble and deteriorate. And, neighborhoods are falling apart in our town. And that's kind of where we started, or my intent of trying to get something like this going. What we ended up with is this, and it's fine. But until we start addressing, houses that, people aren't doing anything with, then we're going to keep tearing houses down, and our neighborhoods are going to continue to deteriorate. So, this might be a discussion that we have later on, but I would like to see something, this is great for renters, but then there's people who own houses that aren't doing anything with them, except letting them deteriorate and fall down, and then here comes Mr. Talley, and the Buildings and Standards orders them to be demolished, and then we got another lot to mow.
Sure, I certainly agree. And of course, you recall staff brought some other stuff prior to this one.
Sure. And
Ultimately, we're to the situation where when we tear an old house down, it feels like a success, but it's really a failure
It is
because
a
it never
failure.
should have gotten that far
So
to
we
begin
need to
with,
get we need to figure out a plan to get before the house tears down. And I'm just saying, this is wonderful. This is a good start.
Right.
But this is renters. Now we got to
That's
look
right.
for the vacant houses, and we've got to do something with the vacant houses. There's too many of them.
Certainly agree,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. So, all right. Thank you for this. Appreciate this very much.
Yes, thanks for the update. And it brings to my mind the story of all the starfish that wash in on the beach, and one person is standing there throwing them back in the ocean, and Walker says, you're not making a difference. Well, to the one starfish I throw back, it makes a difference. And this has made a difference to a lot of homes right here. So, as a start, I hope we can get more on the list.
More
Like you said,
starfish,
50 would be better.
Yeah.
Anything else? All right. Thank you for the update, John.
Thank you.
Oops, that was it.
Item number, before we go into executive, I'm going to bump up the future events and remind everybody that the municipal band is playing right now. They played Friday night. I actually played with them. I'm the sole tenor sax player, and it was a wonderful night. The temperature was really pleasant, and there were a lot of people there. It's a jewel. We should all cherish it, and the way you cherish it is come out there and listen. So. Okay, item number 17, convene into executive session pursuant to section 551.071 of the Texas Government Code, consultation with attorney to receive legal advice from the city attorney about pending or contemplated litigation and/or on matters in which the duty of an attorney to her client under the Texas Disciplinary Rules of Professional Conduct of the State Bar of Texas clearly conflict with this chapter regarding the Paris Regional Medical Center Tax Abatement Agreement. It is now 6:28, and we're going into executive session. Okay, it's now 6:45, and we are out of executive session, and we obtained advice from our lawyer regarding the said legal matter. No action was taken. And I've already, how about future events, item number 19? Anyone have any other future events other than reminding everybody to go to the municipal band concert?
Juneteenth parade, it'll be this Saturday, starting at 10, and it'll end in Leon Williams Park.
Okay, all right, thanks. All right, I'll make a motion for adjournment.
Second.